get to see this last part of the unit about chromosomes. We did the review yesterday about these 5 sections. We saw again how and why do cells divide, and we started with the chromosome structure, the structure of chromosomes. Today we're going to correct the activities on the structure, and we are going to see what the chromosome number, how we identify the chromosome number, and what are common chromosomal abnormalities that may appear in human beings. Okay, so we're going to see chromosomal abnormalities for human beings. The activities that you had to do for today were referring to pictures. So the only way to correct them would be either you showing, turning on your camera and showing your diagram in case you want to do it, or I will directly do the picture for you and you will tell me which the parts are. First of all, we had to correct activity number 8, that was describe the prokaryotic cell's chromosome, explain the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic chromosome. That was the first one. Starting from the bottom, Victor, what do you have in this question? How did you describe the prokaryotic cell's chromosome? Remember, you can either write it down on the chat or turn on the microphone in case you've got a microphone. Victor, are you able to participate somehow, either with the microphone or your keyboard? No way? Okay, then do I have any other volunteer? Okay, they have a circle, perfect, Victor. They have a circular chromosome, okay? It's important that the chromosome is a DNA molecule that has the shape of a ring, so no free ends, that would be one. Another difference is the number of chromosomes they have. How many chromosomes do prokaryotic cells have? They only have one. And do you have any other difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic chromosome? Any other thing you want to say? Well, we've got here at the beginning of page number 4 in your photocopy that in prokaryotic organisms the genetic material is a single DNA molecule, so there's only one chromosome in the form of a double helix. That's not a difference because we've got it the same way, and this double helix of DNA forms, that's the difference, a closed ring with no free ends, which is what you mentioned. The other difference would be that it's not inside the nucleus, obviously, and is permanently attached to the plasma membrane in one of their regions. One part is always attached to the plasma membrane. Okay, that would be the third difference. Number of chromosomes, the closed ring, and is attached to the plasma membrane. That would be the 3 differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic chromosomes, which was part of your question number 8. Okay, the second thing you had to do was the second activity you had to do was activity number 10 for you, that is making a picture of a chromosome and label all the parts. So we've got a possible picture here with different parts. which are the parts that... A ver, Andrea, que se nos viene y se nos va. Which are the parts that, Manuel, Rina, which are the parts that you've marked on your chromosome? What are the names of the different parts that you've marked? Manuel, did you label the picture? Because the question was make a picture of the chromosome, so something similar.
Que no te escucho muy bien, que repitas, vale. Profe.
Activity number 10. Es que ¿sí? Tiene los dos dispositivos y me oigo dos veces. Activity number 10.
¿Cómo que tengo dos cosas?
Has entrado dos veces.
¿Entró dos veces?
Ah, no, ya no. No, antes sí, pero ya no estás dos veces. No. Activity number 10 says, make a picture of a chromosome and label all its parts. And that was part of your homework.
Ah, pues,
so I'm sure...
Lo del label no lo he hecho.
Okay, so you've got the picture, and then you've got this picture here with all the parts. Then, if I give you... A ver, que Clara se nos va otra vez. If I give you one picture similar to that... and you had to label it, different terms that you've got to include in this picture are. What are those terms? You've got to include the most important term, the one that you cannot forget, is the chromatids. Okay, each chromosome has two chromatids, these long legs. There is one, and that would be the homologous chromatid, because it's the sister chromatid, because it's the chromatid in the same chromosome, the sister chromatid. Those chromatids are joined together by the centromere, so that's another term that everybody must have in the picture. The third one is the final region of the chromosome, that is the telomere. So we've got 4 telomeres, 1, 2, 3, and 4 telomeres. We've got 2 telomeres in the P arms, because we've got the short arm, that is this P arm, and that is another P arm, and that's the Q arm. So everybody must have these 5 terms in the chromosome. Then, in case you found the picture of this type of chromosome, the acrocentric chromosome, which is this one, then you could include another term, that is the satellite. Okay, if you look in the internet for a picture of an acrosomal chromosome, one picture, vaya, no va a venir aquí ahora. Es que he dicho acrosomal, acrocentric chromosome. Then in one of these acrocentric chromosomes, you're going to find this satellite. The satellite is formed by this secondary constriction, is another constriction in the P arm. There's another constriction. Whenever there's a secondary constriction and a satellite, we talk about acrocentric chromosomes. So if you draw one chromosome like that one, you could label a 6th term, that would be the satellite. But having 5 would be enough for this activity, okay, for activity number 10. Make the picture of the chromosome and label all the parts. The last one you had to do was activity number 11. In activity number 11, you just had to name all the types of chromosomes and draw them. So Jorge dice, what's the difference between chromatids and telomeres? Okay, chromatid is all this. I'm going to paint in, a ver si puedo. I'm going to paint in red right now a chromatid. That is a chromatid. Okay, if someone asks me to draw, to color a P arm, this would be one P arm. Okay, so the chromatid is all that, the P arm is this part, the Q arm would be the other part. But then if you're asking about the telomere is just this part, the last region, the final region. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 telomeres, because there's one in this P arm, one in this P arm, one in this Q arm, and another one in that Q arm. Okay, while we've got 2 chromatids, this one that includes 2 arms and 2 telomeres. Okay, have I solved your doubt? Yes, okay. Well, those are the parts then. The telomere that we've got it in purple, the P arm in green, the centromere, that is the central region, Q arm here, and chromatid, everything in red. Those are all the parts. And then if this chromosome, instead of being like that, had this secondary constriction, so if it was something like this, okay, this final part that comes after another constriction, the part that is formed and after the constriction, we refer to it as a satellite. Okay, but not every chromosome has these satellites, only some chromosomes. We were doing this picture on different types of chromosomes. You've got it in your photocopy. We've got metacentric, submetacentric, acrocentric, and telocentric. Let's look for another picture. Would be something similar to this, okay? Metacentric, when the centromere, the central fragment, the centromere, is more or less in the middle of the chromosome, that a metacentric chromosome. Submetacentric is almost in the middle, but one arm is a little bit shorter than the other one. Acrocentric is much smaller, one of them much smaller than the other one, and telocentric, there's no tiny arms. Okay, that would be the difference. You can see different examples, but it's always the same. So the difference is based on where this central part is located. Que se le ha ido la luz. ¿Y qué quiere decir? Que se ha marchado, ¿no? Que se ha tenido que salir.
Sí, que se le ha salido, que se le ha ido la luz y...
No pasa nada, cuando vuelva a entrar le volvemos a admitir, y si no, ya sabéis que el vídeo está disponible siempre y cuando me salga, que de momento los vuestros me han salido todos, pero alguno hay que se me escapa. Que no soy yo profesional de esto. Bueno, so this would be referring to this part of the unit. Chromosomes, their structure. So you've got to be able to give me a definition of a chromosome. That is the structure that is formed when chromatin condenses, because the cell is going to divide. And then, referring to the structure of the chromosome, you've got to name all the parts that we've mentioned. Okay, today we're going to see in detail this about number of chromosomes. How many chromosomes do organisms, different organisms have? Well, we already know that prokaryotic organisms only have 1 chromosome. But what about eukaryotic organisms? How many chromosomes do they have? Well, the answer depends on the species. You've got here that Homo sapiens, so humans, we've got 46 chromosomes in every cell, apart from the gametes. So in cells in your skin, your heart, your liver, any organ, including your gonads. So cells in the testicles, cells in the ovaries, they have 46 chromosomes. The only exception is not the gonad, but the gamete. So the sperm cells and the ovules will be 23 chromosomes. But the rest of the cells in your body contain 46 chromosomes, all of them. I told you yesterday that in mice, we've got 40 chromosomes. So and in the fruit fly, we've got 8. So some people may think that the higher the number of chromosomes, the higher the complexity of the animal. But it's not true, okay? We've got, for example, this yeast. What is yeast in Spanish? What's the Spanish for yeast? Anyone? No idea? Es una levadura. Levadura. It's a unicellular fungus. So there's only one cell in this simple organism, but it contains, this cell, it contains more chromosomes, 4 times more chromosomes than the fruit, the fruit fly. So it's not depending on the complexity. And if you see a dog, they've got 78 chromosomes. We've got one type of plant with 216 chromosomes. So the number of chromosomes is not telling me the complexity, but it's almost always going to be exactly the same in every organism in the species. If you see these numbers, all of them are pair numbers. 46, 48, 32, 78, all of them are paired numbers. And we've got here that these organisms are diploid organisms. Well, let's see what this means, that you are diploid. You're diploid, or your cells are diploid when they contain a set of chromosomes that are coming from your mom and another set of chromosomes that are coming from your dad. Then the gamete in your mom fuses with the gamete from your dad, and then you've got the total number of chromosomes. If you analyze the chromosome in this individual, you're going to have something similar to this. We've got more pictures there, but I will try to show it here. No, este no se ve. We're going to take another one. We've got this one here. If you analyze the chromosomes in a diploid organism, this is a little bit bigger. In a diploid organism, when you see the chromosomes in the nucleus, you're not going to see it as organized as we've got it there. ¿Dónde puse yo esto? No va a estar aquí. Ay, perdonadme, que había yo grabado una cosa y ahora no sé dónde la tengo. Vaya por Dios, no me acuerdo. Te puedes salir aquí de todo. Perdonadme que tenía yo activity view, but I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm not going to be able to find it right now. Bueno, la sigo buscando a ver si la encuentro en algún momento. I just wanted to show you the way you see chromosomes when you look at a cell. when you look at in the microscope, when you look at the cell in the microscope, you're going to see something like this. So all the chromosomes are not really organized. So it's difficult both to count the chromosomes and to see whether they are really in pairs or they aren't. We've got to wait until a specific moment in the division that is called the metaphase. This would be after that. So you're going to see loads of cells doing the division, but you've got to pay attention which one is in this phase, the metaphase. Then you will take a picture with the computer and you will separate the chromosomes one by one. And whenever you find a diploid organism, you're going to be able to turn this picture with all the chromosomes not being organized into something like this, in which you put the chromosomes 2 by 2. Well, this probably looks like one chromosome, but it's not. That is one arm, that is another arm, that is one, and that is another one. So this is one chromosome, and that is what we call the homologous chromosome. So this chromosome might come from the sperm cell, while this one comes from the ovule. But both of them contain the same information, or at least information referring to the same character. So as long as this part of the chromosome contains the information about the color of the eye in the chromosome coming from the mom, this part of this chromosome will include information about the color of the eye, but it's coming from the other. From, if this one is coming from the dad, this one is coming from the mom. So this one could say blue eyes, while this one says brown eyes. It could be different, the information, but it's referring to the same fragment. And if this part of chromosome number 2 refers to the way your heart works, this part of chromosome number 2 coming from your mom will exactly tell you the same information. So each part of the chromosome refers to one character in your body, and the two homologous chromosomes contain information referring to the same character. That's why they are called homologous. Have you ever heard this term before? ¿Habéis oído hablar de homólogos? Probably on TV. ¿No suena? Hoy no estén activos con micrófonos. Homologar, vale. Homologar is making something having the same, being as useful as the other one, or being useful, giving a right. Lo homologas, lo haces útil, puede funcionar ya, ¿no? Lo haces que sea oficial, que es útil. Pero en las noticias a veces dicen, el presidente de España visitó a su homólogo francés, o el ministro de Sanidad se ha reunido con su homólogo alemán, ¿vale? Homologous means that they have exactly the same function. So homologous chromosomes mean that they are coding for the same character. So in diploid organisms, we are going to see that if we put the chromosomes 2 by 2, looking at the size and the pattern of colors, do you see the pattern of colors is also the same? If you take the chromosomes and put them considering their size and the pattern of colors, you're going to have, in the case of humans, 23 pairs. This one, this one, this one, all of them identical. But in this case, we've got that this is not a pair. Can you see that one of them is bigger than the other one? That's because these chromosomes belong to, does anyone know what's the characteristic of this organism that is coming from this fact that one of these chromosomes is big and the other one is small? Any idea? We've got these two letters there, X and Y. What is it referring to? The gender, okay, the sex. In this case, these are the chromosomes of a male organism, okay? This male organism has all these chromosomes 2 by 2 being identical, but then one of them is big, the other one is small. That's why we say X for the one that is complete, and Y, which is like an X but a little bit shorter, is lacking this part. Well, we use these two terms, two letters, X and Y, for boys. If this organism was a girl, it would have the same, but this chromosome would be big, as big as this one. Then we would say that the organism is double X and it belongs to a girl. The karyogram belongs to a girl. We've got it here. We've got that the karyotype, which is this, refers to the description of the number of chromosomes in the normal diploid cell. It also describes the size and the distribution. For example, in humans, we've got 23 pairs of chromosomes, but we've seen that 22 of them always go 2 by 2, being identical. We call them somatic pairs or pairs of autosomes, okay? We call them like that because none of them are going to determine the sex. With those chromosomes, we would not be able to know whether the genetic material comes from a boy or from a girl. But this last part of chromosomes are known as the sex chromosomes, and they are going to be one pair in the case of female organism, and there is going to be one X and a Y in the case of male organisms. So this one with a big and a small chromosome belongs to a boy. We've got this one as well, belonging to a boy as well. And we've got, vamos a ver si tenemos alguno aquí. No, there's not. There is not, but we can always see that belongs to a boy as well, X and Y. It seems that we only have karyograms that comes from boys. We're going to see a female, normal female karyogram. It would be something like this, okay? Both of them are big. That is a female human karyogram, this one, okay? So we've got then 2 by 2. You see that this one is exactly the same as that one. The shape doesn't care. It's just because it was folded when they took the picture, because these all, remember, these all comes from a picture. You see it in the microscope, you take a picture, and with the computer you move the pictures. So if the chromosome was folded in the picture, you're not going to change it. So we've got all these pairs, and in the last one we've got 2 chromosomes that are identical size. So this belongs to a woman, okay? What's a karyogram? The karyogram is the picture. The karyotype is how many chromosomes you've got, what is their order in size, if you've got any abnormality in the structure or in the number. That is your karyotype. The karyogram is the picture that helps you identifying your karyotype. Karyogram is the picture, karyotype is the information, okay? But it's very common that we make a mistake, confuse these two terms, no problem, okay? I also do it, so sometimes I mix the term. Karyotype is the number, the type, and so on. And the karyogram that you've got there, karyogram is the figure, the photo, the drawing that specifies, that explains what is this information, okay? So you've got this karyogram representing the karyotype of this normal male organism, and you see there that every chromosome is 2 by 2. It's because our cells are diploid cells. So going back to this section, chromosomal numbers, it says here that in animals, all the animals have their cells that are with a diploid number, apart from the gametes, which are the only haploid cells. Sex cells, gametes, are the only cells that only contain one set of chromosomes, so they are haploid. Opposite to diploid is haploid. So if the question in the exam would be, if the question of in the exam was, what is the haploid number of chromosomes in humans, Andrea, what would be your answer? What is our haploid, what is our haploid number of chromosomes? What is our N number, the haploid number? Andrea.
¿Me lo puedes repetir? Es que no te he escuchado. Es que me va un poquito mal.
Vaya. Our diploid number is 46. So what is our haploid number of chromosomes? If the diploid number is 46, what is the haploid number?
46 or...
46 is diploid. Diploid means 2N. So haploid means 1N is the number of chromosomes that we've got in sex cells. What is the number of chromosomes that we've got in sex cells? In
23.
23, okay, half of it. Okay, so that would be an easy question. What is the haploid number of chromosomes in mice? Any volunteer? What is the haploid number of chromosomes in mice?
In mice, wait.
It's 20, okay? So be careful with that, because you tend to think that diploid number is always pair and haploid number is always odd, but it's not, okay? It could be both of them pair, like in this case. In the case of human is 46 and 23, but in the case of mice is 40 and 20, ¿vale? No hace falta que sea impar. The haploid number, que a veces me lo definís así. Diploid number is a pair number, haploid number is an odd number. No, it just means that we don't have them 2 by 2, but it could be a pair number, ¿vale? Eso es solo una tontuna para la definición. The shape of the chromosome in the karyogram do not matter. Well, it does matter. In fact, when you are representing the chromosomes in human beings, you realize that the first 3 that are here in this group, we always separate the group. Can you see that we've got 3 here in a cluster, then these 2 in another cluster, then these, all of them together, then these cluster, another one? Well, we always do it like that, okay? There's a reason for that to be like that. If you pay attention to this one, you've probably not seen it in your computer or device, but the centromere is located here. So if I ask you what type of chromosome is this one, depending on the shape, what would be your answer? What type of chromosome is considering the shape? Venga, ¿quién se anima? Which type of chromosome is it considering the centromere? Lo ha dicho alguien por ahí, aunque regular, tenéis los micros hoy regularcitos. Is metacentric, okay, because it's in the middle, okay? These first chromosomes there are metacentric. These two pairs are submetacentric. If you pay attention to those, they are acrocentric, and these are telocentric, but you can just believe it, ¿vale? Esto os lo creéis y ya está. But so we put them in order considering the size, but then apart from the size, the shape will also help me to make sure that I didn't make any mistake. Okay, because if I see a submetacentric, I know it's not number 3. It must be number 4, because in humans it's always this way, with this size, with this pattern, and when with this structure, with this distribution, is always like that. If one of these chromosomes had one section less, that it would have been removed by any mutation, that would lead to that is a mutation, and that will lead to different characteristics in the individual. But we are not going to see those mutations this unit. The mutations that we are going to see this unit, or the abnormalities that we are going to see this unit, are only those referring to the number of chromosomes, which is what we are going to see in this following part. We've got, aquí estamos. We've got here different pictures referring to different karyograms. So I want you to have a look at this picture and tell me whether this organism has the common number of chromosomes in humans or it doesn't. Vamos a ver. Pair number 1, is it okay? Yes, there's 2 chromosomes, no problem. Okay, this one is a little bit folded, but it's 2 normal chromosomes. Pair number 2, that's another normal pair of chromosomes. Pair number 3, no problem. Number 4, number 5. Does anyone see anything strange in this karyogram? Anything that seems... But that there are 2 X apart from a Y. If this was a normal girl, then that would be the way that I should, the type of karyogram that I should have found. It would be this type. If there was a normal boy, this would be the karyogram, only 1 X and 1 Y. But the karyogram that I have found here is one that it doesn't contain 46 chromosomes. But if you count them, they are all of them 2 by 2, so that means 44. Then we've got 45, 46, and 47 chromosomes. When I ask you to identify one chromosomal abnormality, the first thing you've got to do is count the chromosomes, because some abnormalities are due to a higher number of chromosomes. Some of them are due to a lower number of chromosomes. So that is the first thing you've got to count. Number of chromosomes. Do I have 46? Then in this case, it's going to be no abnormality. ¿Vale? Quien siga estudiando puede encontrar otras cosas, pero this year, if we've got 46, there's no abnormality. Which are possible abnormalities? Those individuals with 45 chromosomes or 47 chromosomes. In case you've got 47, the following thing you've got to see is what is the pair that contains a higher number of chromosomes? Because we're going to see some cases in which the pair that contains 3 is going to be pair number 13. In other cases, it's going to be pair number 18. In other cases, it's going to be pair number 21. And the fourth possibility is this one, that is the number of sex chromosomes is not the one that we expected to find. So we are going to give these abnormalities trisomy in number 13, trisomy in number 18, trisomy in number 21, or trisomy in the sex chromosomes. We are going to give them different names because they refer to different abnormalities that are going to lead to different syndromes. Syndromes that sometimes will have consequences that will be visible. Everybody will see the difference in the appearance of this person. But sometimes the differences are not visible for the rest of the people. There's even people that have these trisomies, especially a special type of trisomy in this sex chromosome. There's people that have it and they could have a normal life not knowing that they really have 47 chromosomes instead of 46. What is the most common trisomy or chromosomal abnormality that you know? Do you know any syndrome that depends on this abnormality? Anyone knows any syndrome? Down syndrome. Okay. Down syndrome is due to a trisomy of this a pair of chromosomes. So in the case of Down syndrome, we would have that this chromosome not be there, and this chromosome, instead of being twice, would be 3 times. So this is going to be the karyogram. This is going to be how the karyogram of a person suffering this Down syndrome would look like. Would it be a boy or a girl with Down syndrome? Is it a boy or a girl? It's a girl. It's a girl with Down syndrome. This would be the karyogram of a boy with this Down syndrome. So the only thing you've got to do is put all the chromosomes 2 by 2, depending on the size, and then with these numbers that, as you can see, the biggest chromosome is number 1, then number 2, number 3. Okay, so what you've got to do is just count what is the chromosome, the number of chromosomes that has it in a triple number. Okay, let's try to identify what is the chromosome that does not have the right number in this second picture. You've got the photocopy at home as well. So if you want to, if you prefer so, you can have a look in your own photocopy, but I'm going to show it as well here. Does anyone see what's the pair that contains a higher number of chromosomes than expected? Is pair number 13. Perfect. When you put them 2 by 2, you see here that there's no abnormal, not a different number in sex chromosome, no different number in chromosome number 18, no different number in this one, but we've got a triple chromosome here, 3 chromosomes in pair number 13. Well, this one, sí, entra así. This one refers to one abnormality. Well, we'll see the following day, we'll see all the abnormalities, all the chromosomal alterations. We're going to see the consequences. We've already seen the first one that contains double X and a Y. that belongs to someone suffering this syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, and you've got here in the picture that belongs to a boy, because as long as there is a Y in the 6 chromosomes, the phenotype will be the phenotype of a boy. Okay, I will see a boy as long as there is a Y chromosome, one chromosome that is shorter than the other one. If there is no Y chromosome, then the phenotype would be the phenotype of a girl. So in this case, it's going to be a boy, but this boy is suffering one type of syndrome. What is the name of this syndrome? This one is the Pato syndrome. You probably haven't heard about this syndrome because, unfortunately, it's very rare that these organisms, these people get old. They usually die within the first or maybe 2 years in their life. In fact, most of them die inside their mother's womb. They don't even, they are not even born. Okay, so it's a syndrome that affects 1 every 2,000 live births. But as I told you, it usually leads to different problems during the pregnancy process. So they don't really they don't really get birth. It's because it has many other problems in different systems in their body. Well, we'll see all this the following day, all these chromosomal abnormalities. So what's your homework? You're going to have a very easy homework that is going to be just in this picture, circle the different the chromosome that the pair of chromosome that has a different number. So for example, in this picture, the only thing you've got to do is circle that part. In this one, circle this one. And for the rest of the pictures that you've got there, look for the number, the pair number that contains a different number of chromosomes, and just circle it, okay? Because we'll go with it the following day. Any doubt?